Hello, everybody. I'm Pancakes, and joining me tonight on the stack, I have the Liverpool Lip, Earl Joseph. He can be seen in such promotions as New Wave Pro as their creative director, and AWR as the voice of AWR, as well as ring announcing and commentary on I'm fairly certain 400 other different promotions in the Midwest. I think that's a very accurate estimate. But he really can do it all. And please welcome Earl Joseph.
Hey, thank you, Val. I'm really happy to be here on the stack. What's more, I'm glad I'm the Liverpool Lip and not a Liverpool Lip, because the thought of another one existing doesn't really bear thinking about.
Well, they're probably not as important as you are, so you get the first crack at the title.
Yes, I took the name, of course, from Muhammad Ali's old moniker, the Louisville Lip. And being from Liverpool and never knowing when to shut up, it only seemed like a fitting name. But of course, you're right to say that I do work extensively with a number of promotions. New Wave Pro, I'm the creative director, which is the fancy way of saying the booker. But I do a lot more besides, which I'm sure we'll touch upon. I'm also the voice of AWR. I'm the ring announcer there, which is a role I really enjoy. I've had some very good times there. And 2021 has been very advantageous and beneficial to me. I've worked with a number of promotions, primarily in Indiana. And you know, I was the lead and mostly solo commentator for Flophouse Wrestling, which burned very brightly at the beginning of the year and through into March and April. Upstart Pro, I also work for Pro Wrestling Trainwreck. I turn out for, and I've done a lot of deathmatch stuff this year, which was a neat little pivot for me personally. But I've become, you know, one of there's a select few sort of voices of deathmatch, and you know, there's obvious people that I would certainly put above me, but I'm happy with my progress this year.
So, being as how you do so many different things for so many different companies, how do you prepare differently for each of your roles?
I think that's a very good question. So let's take, for example, because they are also different. So we'll start at the top with New Wave Pro, creative director. What that entails is booking the shows, writing the formats, i.e. the scripts, you know, a lot of social media work. The vast majority of the social media stuff you see on the New Wave Pro account, be that the edited videos, the posts themselves, are me doing that. There is also a lot of liaising with people, a lot of placating people, and a lot of work goes into looking for sponsorships and trying to sell tickets. Just today, I've been driving around Terre Haute, Brazil, Gosport, Sealyville, which I hadn't heard of until today when I started putting posters up in there. Brazil, Cloverdale, putting up flyers and posters and talking to people, trying to get them to come to the show. I've been outside of AEW Dynamite in Indianapolis last Wednesday, giving flyers out. I was outside Monday Night Raw in Indianapolis. So creative director is essentially like, you know, being a mother, a thankless task with a lot of work. So with that, the preparation is being there all the time and being ready to adapt to changes. That takes up a lot of my time, the new wave stuff. So it's just about being there constantly. Conversely, if I'm doing an AWR show as the ring announcer, because those shows have so much energy, I have to match that straight away. I come out the curtain and the crowd are on it straight away. They're fantastic, the AWR crowd. You know, the lights go off. I even have my own entrance music, which I know is a bit of a faux pas for a ring announcer, but I don't care. Like, I've got the opportunity to do it, and so I will. And you've got to, the preparation is, before the AWR shows, I tend to be a little quiet, mill around, get people's details. But I like to prepare myself by conserving my energy, because it all has to come out in the show. After those AWR shows, I am sweating like a pig, honestly. With commentary, particularly the Flophouse stuff, my commentary style It's an obvious choice, but I'm very influenced by Joey Styles in particular, who was a motor mouth, but very concise and very erudite and very intelligent as well. And he never let up. And it was one thing I always admired about him and enjoyed about the ECW broadcast. And if you are to watch the Flophouse shows on IWTV, which you should, obviously, except for the one I'm not on. No, I'm joking. Then,
but no, really don't watch that one.
Yeah. I do have this similar tendency, I feel, because I've modeled myself on someone like Joey Styles a lot. And with that, and this sounds kind of wishy-washy, but it's true. I just kind of, I really try and separate myself from what I'm doing at the time, and it's all instinctive. Calling the action, and I just try and make these witty references and keep people engaged, and just I keep going. And after those Flophouse shows, you know, we've done like 3-hour shows where it's me, just me commentating by ringside with my own portable recording rig that I have, which is right next to me. And I just go, it's like, have you ever seen that film Old School? You know,
Yes.
where Will Ferrell does the political debate and he goes, what happened? I blacked out, because he gets his perfect answer. It's like that. That's what I've said before, and it is like that. I come out of those shows, I'm like, wow, what happened there? The one constant, the one same element throughout is high energy. You have to be high energy in pro wrestling. You cannot be louche. You cannot be lazy about it. Whether you're in ring, whether you are a commentator, an announcer, you know, ring crew, sound, light, anything, man, you've got to be prepared to be high energy, to adapt at all times, and prepare for the worst.
So I will say that I think I first noticed you doing commentary for Flophouse on a show I was watching on IWTV, and I was like, I'm fairly certain I tweeted, "Who is this commentator?" Because
I do remember that, because you said who's the British guy on commentary, and I do remember that now you brought it up. Yeah.
Well, I think there were two people doing commentary, and I think I knew who the other one was, but I didn't know who you were, and I was like, "Oh, fancy." I mean, it's not. I can't. In fact, I can't think of another British commentator on the Indies. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's one thing I do have going for me. Obviously, the gimmick is natural. It's although I have had people ask me behind closed doors if it was fake, particularly when I first started, and people were saying, you know, is it a work? I'm like, do you think I would sound like this for a joke? But no, it does help me stand out a great deal. It's been one of the great beneficial elements of my character and my presentation and my form. And as I've said before to people, there's not many of me to the pound in a place like Indiana, and I'm grateful that I stand out. If I were to do this at home back in England, no one would give a shit, you know.
well, I think that your dynamic personality definitely comes through on commentary and in the way that you creatively direct New Wave Pro, and certainly in the way that you ring announce, because I know the last time I saw you do ring announcing for an AWR show on IWTV, I think you had like 14 wardrobe changes.
Yeah, it's got to the point where I try and do one per match now. It started, I can't remember specifically when it started, but obviously one of my calling cards are my loud shirts. And I have so many, Val. You won't believe. I'm looking at them now. I've got a lot. And the way I see it, it's like if I have to wear this, and you've got to see it as well. And it just came about because practicality and gimmickry. One, particularly in the Emerson when we do the AWR shows, it gets hot in there, really hot. It's an old venue. It's an old theatre from way back when, early 20th century perhaps, and it's not very well ventilated as a result. And obviously with the kind of chaotic shows that we have there at the Emerson with AWR, there's lots of lights and sound and people exhaling and being sweaty and egregious, and it makes me react in the same way. So at first it became a functional thing where I would change. Over time, it has developed, and I've leaned into it, obviously, because if there's something that gets you over, then latch onto it, then hold onto it for dear life. And it's got to the point where at one of the shows a couple of months ago, and I'll just remember this, we were in between matches and I was about to say something, and then I hear a small section of the audience on Hardcan side start chanting, "Wardrobe change, wardrobe change." And I look at them and they're all wearing like, Hawaiian shirts. There was a section of about 8 to 10 people all dressed up like me, saying wardrobe change, wardrobe change. And now it's spread over to other companies. I recently did the Southern Sickness Cup versus King of the Deathmatch tournaments in German Park in Indianapolis for Trainwreck and IWA, and some of those same people were there, and there was like this 9-10-year-old kid giving me shit, saying, "Hey Earl, change your shirt," asking me to change my trousers and stuff. So I guess maybe that's the next step for 2022, an entire trouser change each match. Who knows? I joked before that perhaps I'm the Lady Gaga of Midwest independent wrestling ring announcing.
So now you have to come out wearing a shirt that's like neat printed.
Or I could do like the Madonna thing and come out like a big conical bra, I
Yeah.
think that would get people talking.
I mean, people will be talking. I guess any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, I mean that's one way of putting it. But no, it's become a thing even with you and a couple of other people on Twitter. I've seen the Fairgrounds show, the ADT2 Asylum Death Tournament. I remember seeing you and another chap up in New York who were like, "Well, that's 3 shirts, that's 4 shirts," and it's a nice touch, and it keeps people engaged between matches live and at home as well. I'm certainly not trying to steal any thunder, and I certainly couldn't from shows like that. It's I'm just an addendum. I'm another part of the show, and it's a lot of fun, and I do enjoy rushing to the back, and I've got like a little rail with all the shirts on, and I'm kind of like, what is it today, so the main I'll be having a lot of new shirts in 2022. There'll be new additions. I got a new one the other day actually from a Goodwill store. So yeah, expect more and new.
Do you ever retire any shirts, or do you get shirts from like fans? Do fans bring you shirts?
No, actually, and if anyone would like to bring me a shirt, please do. I hadn't
What
thought of
size?
that. God, never ask a woman her age. Never ask. No.
Well, if I'm gonna bring you a shirt, like I want to make it sure that it fits you.
A large or a medium. If my current trajectory goes to plan, I'll be back to a medium in a few months.
Well, those kind of shirts can be like loose and blousy, like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just say a large for now, and I'll shrink it in the wash on purpose if I do
Yeah.
sort of back to my old ways. And so yeah, more shirts, please. If people want to bestow a shirt upon me at a show, I will always say yes.
You heard it here. Bring Earl your shirts, or shirts for him, not your shirts necessarily.
Yeah,
That would be weird.
don't literally take the shirt off your back for me. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not looking to rob you of house and home. But they're very cheap in Walmart. So.
What's your favorite? Like, what's your go-to? Like, this is like I wear this every time. Like, I feel like a bad bitch in this shirt. Like, what's your like top shirt?
It's the one you've put. I was trying to see if it's on the rack. It's the one that's on the promo pic on the flyer that you put out for this podcast. The black one with like the the whole Vice City, Miami Vice, vapor wavy kind of thing. That was a $5 pickup in Walmart. And I know a couple of other people on the scene, wrestlers who actually have it as well. And I've walked onto a show and they've had it on. I was like, take that off right now. I
I was
don't
like,
go
because
around doing spinning heel kicks, do I? So take that fucking shirt off, or I will bury you on the mic so badly.
you will never recover.
You
Do you
will
want to
never
be
work in
buried
this
in
town
that shirt?
again.
You're going to be buried in that shirt.
Yeah. But no, it's just that is my favorite one. I love wearing that, and I do feel that is the definitive Liverpool Lip shirt at the moment. So I put that on, and I do feel like something's locked into place a bit. It does. I know maybe it sounds silly, but any worker would tell you the same thing. They have a particular item of clothing that makes them go, "I'm that person. Let's go." And that shirt is that I save that for like mains and stuff and special matches. That specific shirt.
Do you wear the different shirts and do wardrobe changes when you're doing commentary too, or just the Ring and Out thing?
No, I'm not that far gone yet. Ask me in a year. Ask me in a year's time.
Bet. So you said that 2021 kind of became like, I don't want to say like a breakout year for you, but like kind of you ended up in a lot more places and that you started doing deathmatch stuff.
Mhm.
I I've only gotten into death matches since the pandemic started. I like to joke around that the pandemic made me hard, so now I like death matches. But what is it like? Is there a different way that you prepare when you do those shows versus like regular wrestling shows?
Absolutely. The amount of deathmatch shows I've done where I'll come up and go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to company name, show name, blah blah blah. And as soon as I finish that brief intro, the crowd are chanting, "We want blood, we want blood, we want blood." And so you have to cater to them. And so going back to what I said earlier about a specific requirement for energy, you've got to match that. So if people write out the traps saying to you, "We want blood," you've just got to turn around and go, "Yes, sir, that's what you're going to get. We're going to give you blood. We're going to give you the most brutal death match actor." Blah blah blah. And you've got to play to them. They're the audience. They're the most important part of the show. They're the ones who paid the money. They're the ones who are paying ultimately the workers in the end, they're with their hard-earned money. So you've got to play to them or else. And it does give me a thrill. I've done a ton of shows where they do start with that without any prompting, and I'll turn around and say, yes, I love it, and I do. It's great because I feel a surge, and I'm like, okay, this crowd wants to play. I want to play. The guys in the back want to play, so it's gonna be good. So you always go into deathmatch. I personally go into these deathmatch shows prepared to expend even more energy than I do on a quote unquote regular wrestling show, because it has to be like that. Otherwise, it won't work.
Do you have any pre-show rituals or post-show rituals?
A couple of beers set me right. You got to take the edge off while putting the edge on at the same time. And yeah, that sets me right. I mean, I a lot of the time I just idle around, talking to people, because a lot of these shows have people that are friends of mine, like legitimate, close friends, not just oh hey brother kind of thing, but people I call regularly and chat with, and there's so much to talk about with wrestling being as it is. There's always something worth discussing and gossiping about and trading info on and whatever. But in terms of like any kind of like, you know, I've got to put my left shoe on first kind of thing. It's not really my scene, no.
So I know that we wanted to talk about the big show that you have coming up on the 27th with New Wave Pro, November Rain. What I know that you've announced some matches. I'm sure you're probably holding some stuff back at this point. What is that looking like at this time? You can tell
Well,
me.
we're not. Yeah, we're not actually holding anything back in this case. It's all out in the open. I don't think it's dramatic to say it's New Wave Pro's biggest ever show. The company has been around for 10 years now, and it's only in the last 18 months or so that they have really, really come into prominence. The show is called November Rain. It's taking place on Saturday, November 27th, Thanksgiving weekend, obviously, at the Terre Haute National Guard Armory in Indiana. That's practically on the Illinois border, Western Indiana. We're really encouraging people to come down. We really want people to even travel. Terre Haute is, 90 minutes from Indianapolis. It's 2.5 from Louisville. It's about 3 from Chicago. You've got Paris, Illinois, Charleston, Illinois, not very far. Hell, it's probably not even that far from Omaha, Nebraska, is it, Val?
If it's 3 hours from Chicago, I'm gonna say it's probably 11-ish from me.
You can do that in
Maybe
less than
less.
half a day. Yeah, you can do that in less than half a day. You're fine. The show is it's not just matches on a card. New Wave Pro, certainly since July 2020, with the advent of the Higher Ground series, our episodic wrestling show, has pushed and pushed and pushed storylines and continuity and narrative. And I think that's what marks out New Wave Pro from a lot of its contemporaries, not just in the Midwest, but nationwide. Our team, there's 3 of us that form like a main sort of pyramidal triangle, which is kind of the same thing, where we work really hard. And I say we write the formats. These things are detailed. These aren't just, the match 1, match 2, match 3, match 4. There are pre-tapes and segments and ideas and callbacks and continuity. Obviously, I'm just going to use this time to run through some of what we've got going on. We have Alex Zane coming to New Wave Pro. Obviously, he's one of the men of the moment on the indies. A huge name for New Wave Pro, in line with how New Wave Pro have operated in 2021. Since May alone, we've brought in Mike Bennett to face Cole Radrick. We've had JTG to face Eric Dillinger. We had Jordan Oliver in May as well. So we've cultivated a lot of local talent and given them time to shine, and pepped it in with like some genuine names, like real draws. So Alex Zane is taking on Aaron Williams. Yes, yeah, great. Honestly, it's
I was
gonna
like,
be,
oh, okay, say less. Like,
yeah.
maybe I will make that drive.
Aaron has only debuted for New Wave in May. But as I've said before, and I mean it when I say it, the guy has already, I feel, become a real part of what we do at New Wave. He is a consummate professional. He is excellent in the ring. He is very intelligent and perceptive in and out of the ring. And he is somebody who you want in your locker room. His experience speaks for itself, and he still has so much to give. I don't mean experience to say he's a veteran or he's reaching a certain level. He still has a long way to go. And for him to have a match of this caliber relatively early in his New Wave career speaks volumes about his abilities. And that is a huge selling point for the show. Zane coming in. Zane's also holding a learning seminar prior to the event as well, for $30 if anyone's interested. We have Don't Die Miles, who I'm sure you're very familiar with, taking on Solomon Tupu for the New Wave Pro Championship. Solomon has been champion for over a year now, and has beaten a lot of people. And part of the continuing narrative was that Solomon was the company's first ever double champion. He vacated the secondary title called the Crossroads Belt, and Miles won the resulting tournament. Solomon in that show laid down a promise, and he said, whoever wins this belt, don't forget, it's actually mine, and there'll be a target on your back. And nearly 12 months later, Solomon has come to collect and said, Miles, I haven't forgotten about you. You can step up for this belt anytime you like, and I'll beat you down for it. So Miles, being the person that he is, has stepped up, and we're set for like a huge match. Solomon has beaten Aaron Williams. He's beaten Lord Crew. He's beaten Cole Radrick. But Miles is a different challenge altogether. And what Miles has that a lot of people wish they could have is the unbridled, unqualified support of the New Wave Pro crowd. The New Wave crowd loves Miles. I had a real example of this in September when we did a show called Off the Grid, and we did like an intro video because we have like video screens and the whole gimmick. And Miles just popped up on a video. It was old footage, and the crowd popped so big for that. And I remember standing there going, "Oh my god, you can't buy this kind of charisma. It's just there. It's right there." And that will be his main push. Miles loves the fans, and they love him. And it may put him over the edge, but Solomon's great. Solomon's so powerful. He's also very quick, while being a big guy. And not only has he done really well for New Wave, he's in a way carried the company through, through the pandemic and then post-pandemic, those up and down times that everyone's had. He's carried the company on his back for a long time, and he's certainly not going to give up the belt without any kind of fight. We have Cole Radrick versus Sage Phillips in a dog collar match, which you don't see a lot of these days.
No, you really don't.
No, those two used to be tag team champions here at New Wave Pro under the name Hysteria. And they have had quite the falling out at New Wave. And this has been simmering for 12 months. It's been going back and forth. Again, an emphasis on continuity and storyline and keeping people engaged. And now it culminates. Someone has to win. Someone has to lose. And that's the law to me. And they're going to be chained together by the neck. It's going to be messy, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be pretty violent. So if that's your thing, and I know a lot of people love Cole and a lot of people love Sage, they're two of the best talent in the Midwest by a long shot. You watch them work in ring, and you can only ever be in awe with how fluid and impressive they are. We have Gary J. Speaking of impressive, we have Gary J. defending his Crossroads Championship that he won from Miles in July against Freddie Hudson. There's been a Unsigned and Don't Care versus Shooters Don't Die feud simmering for a few months now. At the main event of the last show in September, it was Freddie who got the pin over Gary in the tag match between the two. So now, they're going to settle their differences with the championship on the line. Both of them hit really hard. I've spent a lot of time watching these guys at ringside and at shows with them. And this is going to be a match, if you're into whack suplex, then just sheer power, then great, you're in. We have Eric Dillinger, who's another man of the moment as well. He is growing increasingly popular, and versus Nate Matthews in a street fight. You can tell on this show, like, everything's got a lot more violence all of a sudden. We're bringing a lot of storylines and feuds to a close here. This is the end of an epoch with New Wave, and we're moving on from here with a lot of different things planned. We already have the next 4 to 5 months sketched out. Eric and Nate, a tale as old as time, former friends. They had at September what many people were calling one of the best matches of the year in all of indie wrestling, at Off the Grid. I would urge you to check it out on IWTV, and if you're lucky, we may well put it up on YouTube for free before November Rain. But this is going to be something different, a street fight. We had a Higher Ground show on last Friday, the 12th of November, and it ended with a mass brawl. The whole locker room was out. Nate Matthews was bleeding from the face. His eye was gashed open really bad, beating each other with crutches and bats and rails. Like, they're going to kill each other, man. It's going to be something special. Nearly there. We've got Beef debuting as well for New Wave Pro, the newest MLW signing. He's taken on gorgeous Morgan Taylor out of Columbus, Ohio. Morgan Taylor is a developing talent. He's a really good guy. He's a great worker, and someone like Beef, he and Morgan are perfectly matched. They're both powerhouses. So this is going to be another case of a good old brawl. We have Mad Dog Connolly, who is our current Higher Ground champion, taking on Jay Marston, who is our Ultra Rapid champion in a title versus title match, winner takes all. Connolly is one of the rising stars, and I'm glad he's with us doing this show, and I'm glad we have a good relationship with him, because I really feel 2022 is going to be a stratospheric year for him. And last but by no means least, we have Von Englands, defending their New Wave Pro Tag Team Championships against Nick King and Orion Krieg, both out of St. Louis, Missouri. Nick and Orion are fantastic wrestlers. Really have to be seen to be believed. They're very understated in what they do, but they are masters of their craft. And the Von Englands have definitely met their match in this. The Von Englands have already done a great job for New Wave Pro. They only debuted in June, but they are already, again, much like I said about Aaron, become part of the furniture, and we're really, really happy to have them with us. And the final point I just want to make is, for all of that, tickets are $10. So
if it wasn't a approximately 11-hour drive, I would absolutely be there for that. That card sounds amazing. You have friends of the Stack, Mr. Freddie Hudson. I call him the Cicada. Please call him the Cicada. Because
I'm not going to get on this bad side, okay?
Because he likes to call me Val Waffles, and so that's why I call him the Cicada. And if you call him a Cicada, he'll know it's because I told you to call him a Cicada, which will be fine.
Okay, I'll pass the message on, but I will say it's from you. I will not.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine.
Absolutely. I just want everyone to start calling him the Cicada. I want it to be like the thing now. So just because he likes to call me Val Waffles, and now other people have started calling me Val Waffles, and I just don't subscribe to that. So any chance I get to Cicada him, I absolutely will.
Yeah, that all of what I've just said, you know, we've got former WWE guys, we've got current MLW, we've got frankly some of the biggest current and rising stars in Midwest independent wrestling. And on Thanksgiving weekend, when you've had enough of your family, you've had enough food, come to New Wave Pro in Terre Haute, Indiana. We start, doors open at 5:30, and it's just $10. We have really put out all the stops. And it's the culmination in some parts of 18 months worth of work. So please justify my existence. No, I mean it. Yeah, I'm not just saying this just because I want to see people there, but I want people to really see some good wrestling, because there was not one bad match, there was not one piss break, there was nothing that slows the tempo down. It's going to be such a good night. And we are so confident that we are going to deliver on what we promise. We have absolutely no doubt in that in our minds, and I want people to share in it and have that experience and come away and go, "Fuck, that was a good show. That gave everything it wanted," you know. And I just couldn't be more clear. Please come to the show and enjoy it, and then just let New Wave do all the work for you.
So, and you also mentioned about England's have a match. I had Eden on the show probably about a month ago, and they were fantastic. That's one of the things that I like about New Wave Pro is that you see a lot of representation as far as men, women, non-binary, different minorities. That's probably the worst. But you understand what I mean. Different people of different places, but all kind of Midwest based, and you give everyone a shot equally. There's not, people on the outskirts or what have you. And I love the work that you guys do. I know, unfortunately, I live here, but New Wave Pro is one of the companies that when it hits IWTV, I make a point to watch those shows. And I can't say that about everything that gets put on IWTV. Frankly, I don't have enough hours in my life. But I do make a point to check out the New Wave Pro stuff because it's always good. I like the stories that you put out, like you were saying. I like the matches. I like the people that you book. And you can just tell when you watch it, even me watching it, a week or two later on IWTV, like I can see the work and thought and effort and just love and care that you put into that show and that everyone puts into it.
Yeah, that genuinely means a lot to me. Thank you. It's not just me that works their asses off. Everybody puts in a good shift from, sound, commentary. Our commentary team is absolutely exemplary. There is nobody like Mike Kirkham and Robert Black on the indie scene. Our production is stellar. And like I say, you are right to identify the amount of work that goes in. And it does mean a lot to hear somebody say that. And it's nice to know that we're top of your viewing docket when it hits IWTV, because sometimes I wonder who the fuck is watching this stuff. It's a labor of love for a lot of people. I don't make any money from this. I truly don't. There's no wage, there's no salary, there's no take. Anything we do make, I wave and I say, let's just put it back into the next show. I don't. There's no amount of money that can really ultimately cover the work that I personally put in. It would be too much. I don't know. I just want to succeed and make good wrestling television and make a good live show and work with people who not necessarily deserve it, but will work hard to achieve such things.
It essentially is a very, like, to really just to boil it down to the simplest terms, it's a very expensive hobby. Because you put so much time and effort and care into doing your show I know you do, like, and I apologize, do you do a show every month, every 2 weeks ish? So I feel like I feel like you guys have like some bigger shows and then like some like maybe smaller shows. I don't know, maybe that's
Yeah,
not the best way to put it, but
the higher ground is kind of like the and we don't do it often enough, although that we have plans for that in 2022. But high ground is like our kind of promotional tool for the big armory shows that we do in Terre Haute. High ground is filmed in our training facility. We have a full I say full training facility. We have a building with a ring permanently set up and seating. It's not exactly the WWE PC, but it a lot of people go there to train, and we do these shows that we record. So our schedule has been up and down this year. I wish we could do like what Beyond do. You know, I wish we were that regular, because I'd love that. But hopefully, like I say, next year we've got plans. We're working on a lot of things concurrently, parallel to busting all our asses for November Rain as well.
well, it's funny you would mention the future of New Wave Pro, because that's my next question. What's the future look like after November Rain for New Wave?
January 22nd, we have Anniversary, which is the company's 10th anniversary show. We have, unfortunately, I wish I could, but I'm not at liberty to divulge specific names right now, but we have, as well as our some of our really regular great guys and girls, we have a former WWE star coming in, we have a former ROH star coming in, and we have a current AEW star coming in as well. And that's very, very exciting. So it's after November Rain, we're going to start hitting that hard and saying, here's who's coming, look out, because we've got 3 really blockbuster matches. I mean, we've got the whole card laid out. We know what we're doing, but there's 3 matches in particular that will really make people raise an eyebrow and realize what we're doing is good work. And it all follows on. I know I talked about a lot of storylines and ideas culminating in November Rain, but it's like a season finale, if you will. You know, it will end, and the next series will pick up with a lot of the same people, but just in a tangential direction. And that's what we're aiming for. After that, with Anniversary, we have a show in Paris, Illinois on March 26th, which is our very first out-of-state date. So we're looking to expand a little and try new things and play to new audiences. I would expect big things for that show. We're in talks with some people because we want to push the boat out, because we've got to attract a new audience almost. We have an April date, we have May dates, and like I said, with the higher ground thing, there are some plans in the works to have the Higher Ground series be a lot more regular and facilitate the bigger pay-per-view shows. To use what's pay-per-view, says a 20-year-old.
I pay to
Yeah,
view everything. I don't know what you're talking
yeah.
about.
Or pay to, or don't pay, whatever.
That too.
Yeah. So that's we have a lot of ambitions. You know, as you can tell, there's a lot going on, a lot's up in the air at the moment in a good way. We have a lot of options available to us, and I'm really, really looking forward to 2022 because based on what we have so far, it's going to be a really, really good year. And we've even planned into June, July, August. Like I said, we spend a lot of time doing this.
It's like, wow, you got yourself booked up for the next almost a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it is, particularly with a lot of the guys we use, they're in demand, and sometimes you really have to go, hey man, what are you doing in the middle of September? What's happening? You know? I mean, never normally that severe, but sometimes you do have to reach forward a few months and say, hey, listen, have you got anything going on 5 or 6 months from now? Because we're kind of going to need you, which a lot of people hate. But that's just the way we try and do business. We try and lock people down really early.
Well, I know that you said too, and I've noticed as well that you focus a lot on long-term storytelling, and with AEW kind of snatching up people left and right, and for a while WWE is kind of doing that too. I know that as far, I guess, at least most indies aren't going to be like, well, you told us you were going to be here, so you're going to have to tell AEW no. Like, that's not going to happen. So, like, as far as making sure that you have talent booked up, because you never know where they could be 5-6 months from now.
Yeah, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Tony Khan for really inflating the market in the US. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, mate. No, I'm joking. There is that. I mean, obviously, AEW has really, I don't know if revolutionized is the word, but it's really changed all of a sudden people's approach because, you could have a person booked and then all of a sudden they get a call up to go on AEW. They're on Dark Elevation. They may even be on Dynamite. There doesn't seem to be that many borders or boundaries at the moment between what you can and can't do at that company, which is good creatively and artistically. And suddenly, an independent promotion may have a potential star on their hands, and it's also good for marketing purposes because all of a sudden you may be able to turn around and go, as seen on AEW Dark Elevation. So it's perhaps one of the first instances of trickle-down economics that could actually work. Finally, the Ronald Reagan economic dream comes true through pro wrestling.
No. Only took 40 years.
Yeah, only took 40 years. Who knows what the next 40 will bring?
Well, as far as New Wave Pro and the work that you do with AWR, and I don't know if Flophouse is still running or not.
I believe it's just on a hiatus. Everyone just started doing different things. Flophouse was one of those, San Francisco 1969 kind of happening things. It's like, it was a great, you were there for a great moment in time. And some of those shows, some of those private stash shows we did, you saw some really good combinations and some really like cool matches, man. I got to work with Super Crazy in one of those shows, in a no show in someone's like outhouse where a ring was set up, and that was cool. Got to work. I saw some insane matches with Mickey Knuckles. That's where I really first got to know her. I've worked with her so much in 2021. I can't even begin to say across three or so different companies now. So I got to see some mad matches between her and Dale Patricks, and her and anyone else she wrestles with is a crazy match, because she is fearless. She's excellent, Nikki. Really love her. I don't know what the current status is. I'm sure when the time is right, when the opportunity is right, that it will be brought back, and there will be people who would be more than happy to step up and be involved. But certainly those shows from the turn of the year, that December, or that maybe like November through to March run was great. It was like being on a little traveling caravan of freaks, in a good way, obviously. I will say about Flophouse that we actually recorded a Christmas special and another show, weekend at Swarty's, I think it was, yeah, at the New Wave Pro Arena, the so-called training facility. And to date, I may break that record this year, who knows, but they are the coldest wrestling shows I've ever partaken in, because it's not a very well insulated building. It was just the coldest, some of the coldest days I've had in my entire life, genuinely. But people stepped up and did it. So what can you say?
Well, and the area that you're in is just perfect. There's so much. It seems like there's just a ton. And I don't know if it's always been there, or I feel like it really came to prominence like during the almost the worst part of the pandemic, of, like Indiana and Illinois and Ohio and Kentucky. Like, I feel like so many just great companies have really come up out of that area, and great wrestlers have come up out of that area. It's just a, a cornucopia of talent. And is there somebody, and you don't have to name names necessarily, but are there people that you're looking to work with that you haven't worked with yet, as far as like for a New Wave Pro, to bring in next year, that are like from that area?
Oh, a ton. All of whom I'm currently talking with now. So I'd hate to let the cat out the bag. But
No
you know,
spoilers.
yeah, no, sorry. I hate to feel like I'm deflecting, but no,
Okay,
it just so happens that my wish list is currently my inbox to a certain extent.
that's a good
But,
problem to have.
exactly. Further to your point, though, you make a good point. Sorry, I'm just wielding a knife here.
You really
To
did
get
get into
the
death matches.
yeah. No, certainly during the worst parts of the pandemic, as you put it, places like Indiana, or a place like Indiana, became the sort of the hotbed of independent wrestling. And to that I say, thank God for an unregulated plutocratic state government. Um, it was a great benefit, in some ways, because obviously the collective came over. That wouldn't have happened in any other state in October 2020, except for Indiana. Um, and but outside of those restrictions, Indiana, I feel, has this kind of like, like an almost dark tower presence upon independent wrestling, and it's like it might not be the final destination, but if you're there, you get access to great stuff, and you're also, at the crossroads of America, to coin the cliche. But you're open to so many other areas. You've got Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Kentucky. Further down, you can go to Tennessee and stuff. And it acts as a good gateway to other places, and that's what I'm hoping to take advantage of in 2022. I really hope to be more mobile and go to other states. I'd really like to go south, go to some of the southern states and work there, and maybe get a bit of sun on my skin.
I did just happen to glance at chat while we were talking, and I do see Jay in the chat. She is asking if you are hydrated, from Miles.
Hello, Miles. You should be preparing for that championship match, my friend, not hassling me on Twitch. I am very hydrated, thank you. I'm like a sponge right now.
So I'm glad that you're hydrated. I just pronounced that chat again. Jade also asked, when are we seeing the full Shooters Don't Die faction in New Wave Pro?
Once I can find 4 other people who are tough enough to step up, that's a hardy faction right there. It's Miles, it's the Cicada, Freddie Hudson, uh, it's Cameron
Hell
Sattler,
yeah.
it's Ron Bastoon. You know, that's a mix of people offering different strengths and styles that all complement each other. So if there's if there's another 4 people who who are interested or willing, then I don't know. My inbox is always open. Though I don't reply to everyone, but my inbox is open.
So I also got to see another message from Jay here. I am preparing. Harassing you is part of my training, from Miles.
Good. Then I guess that fits. I've known Miles since the very first day I started in wrestling here in the States, and he and I have been through a parallel and shared journey together. For example, I mean, this Saturday will be my 3-year anniversary of actually moving to the States. So a lot has changed in life in a short time, and Miles, I've known Miles for about 2.5 years of that. So if he didn't harass me, it would feel wrong.
Aw, that's cute. So you kind of touched on this, and really, this is a question that I had just because I'm like super curious. So you moved here, you said you moved here about 3 years ago. How did you get into independent wrestling here?
It was a combination of factors. I had moved here in November 2018, and because of I moved on a marriage visa. I got married to a woman from Indiana. I met, and we'd gone back and forth. That's pretty much the story. I keep on wanting to come up with a fake like origin story, but the truth's fine enough. Obviously,
I mean, the truth is adorable.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Awesome.
And because of the terms and conditions in which I moved to this country, I had to wait to get my green card. And for the first 6 months, I was really bored because I couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't get a driving license, couldn't get a job, didn't know anyone, didn't have any friends, nothing like that, which is still true now. So it just so happened that where I lived at the time, not far out of downtown Indianapolis, was a training school and a wrestling company. And here's the irony: it was within walking distance, which is the thing I'd struggled with in this country when I first moved. Is that if you want to walk somewhere, go fuck yourself.
Especially in the Midwest.
Yeah, I was about to say, particularly in the Midwest. I was literally about to say that. Yeah. And it just things seem to fit straight away. I'm not so silly to define it as fate or anything, but the cards really fell in my favor on this one, and the story and the journey has been really quick. I began ring announcing very soon thereafter because, obviously, as we determined at the start of this podcast, I stand out by a country mile, and it always benefited me, and it's gone from strength to strength very, very quickly. But the story of how I got into it was pretty much that. I turned up to the training school because I wanted something to do. I've been a lifelong wrestling fan. Don't get me wrong. This wasn't just like a eeny, meeny, miny, mo, what shall I do while I'm waiting for my green card situation. It was, oh, right, wrestling school. Yeah, that would be interesting to see how I fare. And I've just tumbled further and further down the rabbit hole ever since.
So did you train to wrestle then? Like, can you wrestle too? Or were you like shortly like
I could wrestle in the same way that I could do the 100-meter sprint. I would get there in the end, but it may not be pretty. I wrestled 7 or 8 matches as named Lord Britannia. very much a gimmick like the Blue Bloods from WCW, early to mid 90s, Dave Taylor and William Regal, or Stephen Regal. But that didn't last very long. I injured myself pretty badly in the ring during a match, and I haven't wrestled since.
So my next question is, can we find your matches? Are they on IWTV or YouTube or?
No, God, they're not IWTV. No. I was a 40-mile high school wrestler. I'm sure. The furthest I ever went with my wrestling abilities was Greensburg, Indiana, for a reason. I have my debut match, which wasn't a match as such. It was a July the 4th event, and I came out. I used to wear Union Jack tights, and I'd have the flag, doing all this. And I came out and I cut a promo saying, just ragging on America and saying, "Oh, this is your Independence Day. This is the worst day in British history ever." Blah blah blah. And then a guy comes out to Born in the USA and squashes me in about 15 seconds. The promo was about 10 times longer than the match. He just hits me in the corner, snapmare, hits a couple of big splashes, 1, 2, 3, and then drapes me with the American flag. No, he tries to put it in my mouth, which I wasn't expecting. I remember that. I was like, "What are you doing? Are we shooting?" Shit. So yeah, that was my debut, and I just did some matches on like fairground shows and high school shows, but I wasn't anything to write home about, I promise you.
That doesn't stop me from wanting to see them, though. I don't know why you would think that would prevent me from wanting to watch them.
I will endeavor to dig them out, because I believe I'll be able to find 3 of them.
Hell yeah. I want to see it.
Judge me.
I'm sorry, don't what?
Judge me.
Would I do that? No, I wouldn't. But I do want to see it just because I'm curious. And I like watching wrestling.
The last thing that ever happened to me in a wrestling match was the injury I got was a broken wrist. I botched a move. It was my own fault. I messed it up and I broke my wrist, and I rolled out the ring. It was a triple threat match. It was my first main event as well, man, which really hurt. They must have been hurting for people, I tell you. And
maybe you're just better than you think you are.
Well, I rolled out the ring, and my wrist is like a windsock. It's doing that. It was disgusting. Oh, it was the worst. And I remember this because it's my now abiding memory of being an wrestler. Was as I'm cradling myself and I think going into shock, because I've got like a low pain threshold, so it was never going to work out for me anyway. And someone in the crowd in Paragon, Indiana, so I'm just going to name and shame the town here, said to me, "Hey, why don't you fuck off back to England and learn how to wrestle then?" I was like, and that's it. That's the last thing that ever happened to me as an active player. And that's the thing that sticks with me the most. So thanks random fairground attendee in Paragon, Indiana. Changed my life.
I hope that person comes to New Wave Pro. I truly do.
Maybe breaks his wrist.
You're gonna find him. You're gonna break that wrist right for him. Yeah. You think I forgot? No.
Yeah, that's long-term storytelling. It's gonna be me versus him at November Rain.
Surprise match.
Yeah.
Continue.
No, sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of random questions now. So I'm at the random question portion of my time with you, where I ask you random questions. Like, you go to shows, you do lots of different things. What do you listen to on your drive? Who's usually in your wrestle car, and what are your road snacks?
Good questions. Listening, I listen to the Jeff Jarrett My World podcast, which I enjoy. Except I don't know, I get a kick. Jeff Jarrett loves repeating himself. He always goes quote unquote every 5 seconds, which I find fascinating. he also has this way of, like, Conrad will say something even like 1% challenging, and he'll go, ha ha, all right there, Connie. It's just, I don't know, he's got these verbal tics which I just love and keeps me satisfied. But the podcast is really interesting because I'm such a huge fan of his particular style of wrestling, his history with WCW, because I'm a big WCW guy.
I'm a WCW girl.
Yeah, oh, I love it. It's probably, if pressed, my favorite promotion. But the Jarrett legacy is big in wrestling, and I just like listening to someone who's experienced recount stories. Although, like a lot of these wrestling podcasts, there's a lot of selective memory and a lot of like, well, I don't remember exactly what happened. Sure, all right, mate. Yeah, okay.
Are you calling out Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah, if he wants to come to New Wave, please. I listen to a podcast called Football Cliches, which is as in soccer, real football, and that's just like a sort of British like comedy thing, talking a lot about European soccer and stuff like that. I listen music-wise. I got quite a broad taste. I'm always trying to find something new. That doesn't necessarily mean released recently, but stuff I haven't listened to. If I haven't heard it, it's new to me. But my favorites are groups like The Fall from Manchester, England, are my favorites. Tom Waits, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Captain Beefheart, Frank Zappa. I got all kinds of stuff. I love a bit of everything. I know that's kind of like a trite answer, but it's true. I do. I've got a lot of playlists that I cycle through. What was the second? Oh, who's
what are your? Yep, who's in your car with you?
God, no one generally. I like riding on my own. I like listening to things really loudly. I like putting a lot, and I'm gonna give away the work here, but I like putting on music really loudly and singing along really loudly as well, and drumming on the steering wheel and all this. I'm one of those people. I have ridden on enough occasions though with Nate Matthews, who's been a close friend of mine since day one. Eric Dillinger, I've ridden with a few times, but just because of the nature of what I do for the most part in wrestling, that is to say, I'm an announcer. Announcers don't turn up to shows uninvited as part of a carload, and they're like, hey, can I announce a match for you, please, baby? Whereas, if a carload of wrestlers go, there's more chance than anything they'll get booked or thrown into something. But with me, I kind of have to know where I'm going and where I'm going to be. So by and large, it is me on my own. And that's also because a lot of people I know and familiar with, a lot of them just don't live in Indianapolis. And if they think I'm going to drive to theirs to pick them up, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, there's not really like an announcing version of a scramble match. So
although now you mention it, that would be something. Maybe you'd need like a clapometer or something. It wouldn't be done. You couldn't do pinfalls. You'd be like whoever does the best announcements. I don't know, but I honestly, I did try it back in the day when I first sort of went freelance from my starter promotion, and I would turn up and I'd be like, hey, listen, if it's just your brother-in-law doing announcing, you should let a proper guy do it. Which is a tactic that yields surprisingly low results. Nothing like insulting the promoter's family to get in their good books, I find.
Well, I mean, if it warrants it.
No, I'm kidding. It never came to anything like that. But the point still stands. It is difficult for a man in my position. I have to be booked, really. I'll go along to shows and hang out, and if there's stuff that needs doing, or an opportunity comes up, fine. But I'm booked on enough shows already that I don't need to just turn up at a lot of these things. If I go to a show when I'm not booked, it's tends to be strictly as a fan, and I just want to enjoy it and kick back.
Enjoy a show and not work it?
Yeah,
What?
I was about to say, I'm not actually sure when that last was at independent level. When I last went and enjoyed it. uh, no, I can't remember what the last show I went to as a fan at independent level.
Oh, well, hopefully, maybe you'll get to enjoy a show just strictly as a fan in 2022.
I'm honestly, I'm all methodology. I I find it difficult to do these things as a fan because, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but I'll just be there going, God, I want to be on there. God, I want to be doing this. Like, I
I just
just
said
get, I
this
really,
way.
yeah.
I
Well,
booked
it's
it
not
that
even
way
that.
kind of
It's just
stuff.
I genuinely have such a compulsion to perform and to succeed and do well for me and others and the audience and the people who work alongside me that I just can't get enough of it. I've said to enough people I'm addicted to the game. That really, I could be so tired. I could be absolutely like zombified. And as soon as the music hits or I go through the curtain, bam, I feel like such a different person. It's a wonderful feeling, and seeing other people enjoy that when I can't, yeah, it makes me a bit jealous. I'll admit that.
So then, what are your go-to road snacks? Like
Um,
where you stopping and what do you get?
I've recently grown quite attached to Circle K as a brand. I am available for sponsorship, Mr. Circle, or is it Mr. K? Who knows? Their coffee is like the best one of all the gas station chains, so that's one of my first ports of call. And they also do great pizza at Circle K. I know. There's a lot of talk about wrestlers who travel, about Casey's. I know that's like, yeah. Like I knew you knew what I was going to say. I know it.
Well,
Uh,
I live in Nebraska and we're Casey's town, Casey's state. So
I
I'm a
know it.
Casey's pizza gal. So
I still haven't had it yet. I haven't had Casey's pizza, but I know. I'm sorry. I will tomorrow. All right. But I know that's regarded as number one. But I really like to, in in regards to maybe potentially getting sponsorship from this fine, reputable brand, that their pizza is excellent, and they have a lot of good own brand stuff. And normally, just depending on how I feel, I find chocolate doesn't really work on the road, just for whatever reason. Not a chocolatey person on the road. I like pork rinds. We call them pork scratchings back home. No one does here. When I said it first time, people are like, "What the fuck does that mean? What do you do to them? You do what with them?" But yeah, pork rinds slash pork scratchings are my go-to ones. Although very find it frustrating because I sometimes I find it difficult to find the standard flavor. They're all like Louisiana hot flavor. It's like, come on, look, I'm pretty boring when it comes to like food stuffs. Like, just give me the normal one. That's okay. I don't think there's anything else. Something like fruity and gummy, like gummy worms, is also a really good choice.
you know, I ask this question a lot because I'm like a snackosaurus rex, and I hear pork rinds and gummy worms like all the time. Like those are like probably two of like the most like that, and then like energy drinks.
I'm not an energy drink person at all. I find them abhorrent. Intake, and people are free to do what they want. And we all have our own vices, of course. But energy drinks, the taste does not work for me in any way, shape, or form. And then I'll go to a show and I'll see some guy who's like my age and he's drinking like a raspberry, cotton candy, lemon, blackcurrant, sugar energy drink. I'm like, are you okay? Are you doing well? What's happening here? Talk to me. I can help you. Why are you drinking this shit? uh,
You look at it like a cry for help.
yeah, I'm like, I'd rather you smoke crack in front of me. And they're always called things like, bastard energy drink, or, motherfucker in a can. Like, wow, is this happening? You wrestle like this? You live like this? I don't know how people do it. Absolutely fair play to them for putting up with that. And I reason that there is addictive as hell. And anything with that much sugar in can't be awesome. I just stick to good old harmless beer.
I'm sorry, are you drinking a Hams?
Yeah.
What decade are you in?
Well, this stuff was at Hams was first established in the middle of the American Civil War, which just strikes me as
That's
odd
why
because
I asked.
the country's getting torn apart and someone's gone, it's time to create a new beer. Like, this war's really getting to me, man. Like, I'm going to make a whole new beer. No, Hams is great. I am an advocate of very cheap beer. Anyone will tell me. My wedding reception slash ceremony, the catering amounted to some food and 2 large cases of Hams. I love the stuff.
Whatever makes you happy.
It does make me happy as well. $3.49 for a 6-pack, man. You tell me what's wrong with that. Actually, don't tell me what's wrong with that.
I wasn't going to. I'm not a drinker, to be honest with you. But my parents owned a bar for 15 years, and there was always it was always like the super old guys that wanted to drink the Hams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was like the old timey farmers.
I guess I'm just an old Midwestern farmer at heart. You know, I guess that's what it really comes down. Call me, Eugene or Ezekiel or something like Jeremiah, something like that.
So, what is the most surprising song on your playlist? You said you like to sing along. Like, what is your sing along jam?
Oh, no, you're at the risk of exposing me, Valerie. I can't have this.
I like to ask the hard hitting questions.
Yeah, I know this is a hard hitting question. This is my Frost Nixon right now. Oh man, there's so many that I love. I'll tell you one. And this is showing my age, but Jagged Little Pill remains one of my favorite records. And the opening song is called All I Really Want. And every time you just hear that, you hear like the opening guitar chord, which is distorted but quite soft, and then there's like this blow into a harmonica. And like every time I hear that, I just go fucking yes. Like I'm elated when that song comes on. And Alanis Morissette, I always thought, even, I would have been 9 or 10 when that record came out. That was 1995. And I've always admired someone like her for not backing down, for having really strong verbal discourse and not being afraid to try things. And she stood out in that age when that album first came out. An empowered woman artist in the mainstream in 1995 was quite a rare thing, and she did that very well. And the album is it's going to be 30 years old soon, and there's a reason that people still love it. And it's one, I have a feeling it's one of the certainly one of the biggest selling debuts of all time. Maybe not one of the biggest selling albums of all time, but I think in terms of debuts, it's probably up there. But I would say All I Really Want by Alanis Morissette might be one of my surprising ones. I tell you what I was really bopping along to recently was Say You'll Be There by the Spice Girls. What a song.
That's my favorite Spice Girls song.
Oh, God,
that is like my go-to karaoke jam.
Oh my God, what an absolute song. Mel B kills it on that song, man. Her backing vocals are absolutely sublime. And I think that's probably their best song, the Spice Girls. Again, another group that I caught first time around. They were huge. They were such a revolution. 96 to 97 was when Wannabe came out, the first single. And being that age and around really excitable girls that I went to school with, and girl power was like the thing, man. So that's what it reminds me of, those times. I'm just skipping through. I'll see if I can give you a third.
Yeah, I don't know how old you think I am, but I'm 36. So I was like,
I win. Yes.
Like, I feel it, because I got those two things the first time around too. And like, as like a really bitchy like preteen, like Alanis was like my girl.
Yeah, I mean, as a really bitchy preteen boy, Alanis was my girl also. I'd say here's one more. In fact, now that I know that we are of the same, pretty much the same age, "Ride on Time" by Black Box.
I don't. I feel like I would probably know that song if I heard it,
I'm
but
not
off the
familiar.
top of my head, I don't.
Um,
I will look that up as soon as we get done. I will be honest with you.
it was one of the main. They were one of the main groups during the whole like Italian house craze in the 90s,
Yeah, like
and
90s dance music.
yeah, with the jangly piano, that's Italian house keys. Um, and they have an album called Dreamland, which is absolutely unreal. I would recommend it. It's like if I went clubbing, which I obviously don't.
Well, you live in
That would
Indiana.
well that would be the music I would want. I would want them to play like Black Box because I'd be loving it. I'd be loving it. So yeah,
You should
they would be three. There's probably a lot more I could give you just looking through my main like miscellaneous playlist.
like
They're ones I'm happy to reveal. That's it.
you went full 90s on me.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So if you could have an action figure of yourself, and it was one of the like the speaking action figures, what would you want it to say and what accessories would it come with?
Probably say, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? That would probably be the catchphrase because I pretty much say that after every match, just while I'm getting in the ring. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Hey, what a great match! Here, let's hear it one more time for your winner. Um, Accessories would be a microphone, a can of hams, and several different shirts.
Hell yeah. Um, other than your phone and your shirts, what do you not leave for a wrestling trip without?
Um, my cue cards. A couple of shows I've done, in fact, more than a couple. People have like looked at me and gone, "Yeah, good idea, cue cards." I'm like, "Well, what? So what are you expecting? What do you think I'm going to do?" I don't know if they assume I'm going to memorize it or it's like a memento thing where I tattoo it on my body. But no, my cue cards are vital, and I have a shoebox full of. I mean, probably not every single one now, but as many cue cards as I have kept possibly in a habit of shoebox. So and they kind of compartmentalized a bit. So if I need to do a show and I know there's going to be similar people on, I can just kind of go to that genre and that thing, and then just have them all written before I get there, and then just very quickly go around to people and go, "Hey, same as last time, same as last time, same as last time, same as last time," and then my job's done. I just wait.
I just assume you have a file for every wrestler you've ever done ring announcing or commentary for, and just statistics and facts on them, and you just keep it with you.
Well, it's got to the point, yeah, because a lot of those statistics and facts, certainly in the last 12 to 18 months, I've witnessed. So, but
Just
a lot of these
add.
guys now, I've memorized their intro. I particularly enjoy doing Akira's intro. Dale Patrick's I love doing. He's always so much fun to do because he gets into it and he comes right up to my face just like Akira does. Mickey Knuckles, I love introing. Um, I think they're my top three, and it's a testament to how much I've worked with them recently. And the Akira one is like a real ferocious energy. You know, he's made in the USA. He's the goddamn motherfucking death samurai, and Akira does this jump, and then I say Akira as he lands. Perfect, absolutely. Dale, I actually bequeathed him the as seen on OnlyFans thing, which I've heard people like Larry Legend using now. But I was the one who came up with that at AWR. You know, he's from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's the deathmatch jackass of all the yard. As seen on OnlyFans. It's sort of it's caught on in a couple of other places, which is cool. And Mickey's is the whole. She's the man from Nantucket, walking episode of Cops, Queen of Deathmatch, the godmother of Deathmatch, Mickey Knuckles, you know. And I do this thing where when I say because I used to say goddess of the death match, and then I used to drop to my knees and then give all the spotlight to her. It was great stuff.
So, what is the wrestling word you use most outside of wrestling?
Mark. No, gimmick. Gimmick is it's the fate that befalls everybody who's involved in the business, is to call everything a gimmick. I've done it about 12 times today, about 12 different items. It just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about that word. It sounds cool. Gimmick, gimmick, gimmick. It rolls off the tongue very well, and it is. Everyone loves a catch-all term, and you could say, I'll just point at something. Hey, pass me that gimmick there, will you? You know, they know what you mean. But that's definitely by a long way the word I use most.
I will say, when I ask this question, that is the answer I get roughly 95% of the time.
I knew it would be. I knew it would be.
Like me, I think mine is probably popped. Like, oh, that popped me. I do that a lot. But gimmick is the one I hear most often from everyone that I ask that question to.
Or the shoots. You know, you talk about your job. The shoot sucked today, man. Or yeah, I've got to go to the shoot after this show or whatever. You know, I would say, but that's like a distant second or third, a very distant second or third.
So, kind of winding down, we're gonna do questions from the chat and lightning round. But three very important questions. One, I hang out in Twitter Spaces. So this is a question from Twitter Spaces that I ask everybody because I think it's kind of funny. What is the biggest animal that you could take in a fight with just your hands and no weapons? If it was like attacking you.
A rat.
A rat?
The biggest. I don't know, man. Well, because if I said like a dog, you'd say like what kind of dog and how fucking, like if it was a poodle, yeah, you could boot that well over a fence. But if we're talking like a Doberman, no, it's going to kill me. I think I'd play it conservative and say a rat. I could beat up a rat. You can quote me on that.
Earl Joseph, I can beat up a rat.
I can beat up a rat. That's gonna be my new shirt. So look out.
I mean, I would maybe not do that for wrestling because that word has real bad connotations to it.
Yeah, you don't want to get that. You know, that Teddy Hart reputation. No. Yeah, that's a good point though. But if it came to, I could beat up the animal. All right.
Yeah, I just don't want you to do anything to get yourself canceled. So how do you take your pancakes?
You say about being cancelled, I could have given a very cancelable answer then. No, just normal with syrup. I don't know what you call that. I'm pretty unadventurous with food. I'm not fussy. I just like it simple.
I am a picky eater. I am very basic. I absolutely understand what you're saying. You know, like for me, like generally I'm gonna get like a regular pancake and just have like syrup on it. But like sometimes I'll get fancy pancakes with like chocolate chips or whatever.
Yeah, okay. You know, I might push the boat out and have chocolate chip ones, but I don't know. I kind of haven't eaten pancakes in a while because you get them as like a side as part of like a bigger breakfast. And by the time if you eat them first, the rest of the breakfast is fucked. And if you eat the breakfast first, then you're like, oh man, I've got these big fucking pancakes, you know. But if just like the butter and the syrup, just normal.
So I am going to like set a scene for you. So you're just gonna have to like go on the journey with me. The guys make fun of me for this all the time, but I don't even care because I do it every time. So you're hungry and you're hungry for something sweet, and you go to the store and you're like, I don't know what I want, and then you're kind of wandering around and you go down the cookie aisle and you're like, you know what, brilliant, I actually really want cookies. And you still have like a ton of options, right? But you decide you want like America's favorite cookie, which is the Oreo. So you go to the section with all the Oreos and you eschew all of the weird flavors. Like you don't want any of that. You want your chocolate cookie with your cream center, nothing crazy. but like you still have options, right? Because you can get like the thin Oreos with like just a little bit of cream, or you can get like regular Oreos with like the regular amount of cream, or you can get like double stuffed Oreos with like twice the cream. So like which one are you going for?
I think you know the answer to this one already. Just the normal basic one. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
So
double stuffed ones that like I don't like how they look, and I also don't like the phrase double stuffed. It's not right. They shouldn't attribute that name to a biscuit or a cookie.
I forgot you
Um,
guys called them biscuits where you're
yeah.
at. I watch Bake
Yeah.
Off.
It just makes me uncomfortable to see that written on a confectionery packet, double stuffed. It kind of makes me uneasy, so I bypass it immediately. Um, Conversely, I would pick Chips Ahoy. Just want to put that out there.
So you're more of a chocolate chip kind of guy.
Oh yes, yes.
Do you like the regular chips or do you like the chewy or do you like the chunky?
No, just the crunchy ones, your standard ones. I tell you what, I really do like, and I got 2 bags of them today. Milano. I know that's very posh. I know that like
The Pepperidge
the
Farm
upper.
fancy cookies.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, here's where I'm a big fat hypocrite now because I get the double milk chocolate Milanos, but I would bypass the double stuffed Oreos.
Is it because specifically they call it double stuffed? If they called it like extra cream, would that be different?
Mm,
Or is
I
that
don't
not
know.
good either now?
Extra cream sounds worse somehow.
Um,
It's I think if they just called it um, Oreo Plus, I would buy it. Double plus Oreo. I don't know.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, I mean, that's the unofficial incorrect answer to the question. The unofficial correct answer is, of course, double stuffed Oreos. However, um, I get it. If that's,
Probably
I'm,
not
I'm not
many.
going to shame somebody for their choices for food because people would shame
I
me for mine.
imagine not many of your guests have a quasi-sexual hang-up about the phrase double stuffed on a biscuit packet, so that's probably why this went a little off track.
Generally, at least one thing that I ask is going to go off track. So that this is fine. Um, I've not heard that from anybody else, but there's a first time for everything.
Indeed.
So, Chuck, do you have any questions from chat?
Oh, now you want me to do my job, Val. You didn't want to do my job. You wanted to do my job for me earlier, but now you want me to do my job. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember what you were talking about from earlier, but I always want you to do your job.
It's funny how you duck my questions, Val Waffles.
I don't know who that is.
Anyway, yes, you do. We have questions from chat. Let's see. First one comes from Vic, our Bald Monkeys Twitch VIP, I must say. Vic wants to know, what current commentators do you enjoy listening to?
I would say, and I honestly don't mean this to be biased, although it may come across as that, but I do really like the new wave guys, Robert Black and Magic Mike Kirkham. He's not named after the stripper, but it did throw me for a loop the very first time. Robert and Mike have this great, excitable, old school referential vibe that they get across, and it really adds to the action, which is always tried to be presented as an old school kind of studio based wrestling show. Certainly the high ground episodes. Excuse me. In terms of people not directly associated with me, um, I tend to enjoy the ICW commentary because it's very excitable, and there is a little mix of characters. Sometimes it can be a rotating cast of people, and while the action gets really haywire, so does the commentary. So I find it's almost like that each is trying to one up the other. So I feel they complement each other perfectly. And I think that would be about my answer.
Struggles does a great job. I would agree with you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it adds. Sometimes it's a good counterbalance to the extreme violence that could be propagated on ICW. It's, you know, when people go, oh fuck, you know, holy fucking shit. It's like it offers that kind of human reaction that the viewer is probably having. I'm not a stickler for the commentator should remain professional or not swear. Sometimes, man, you just got to swear. You just got to let it all out. And there's a time and a need. And when you watch some guy who's like 6'4" and 300 pounds get thrown through a big spiked table by a guy of equal size, how else are you going to react? Ooh, you know, that was
Oh,
a good
golly,
move.
Skip.
Yeah, oh, good move. I'm too cool for school to pretend like I care about this. Just let it all out, man. Let it all out.
Okay, next question comes from our very own Christopher. And he wants to know what word seems weird to you, like aluminum. And he adds on to this, I know that it's said differently across the pond.
Yes, we say aluminium. We have an extra letter. So, you know, there's a song I really like by REM called Ebo the Letter, and the chorus says aluminum. So if I sing along, I always try and go aluminium, you know, try and fit it in. Just another one of my daily struggles. One word, it's not necessarily the word itself, but it's the pronunciation, and it's just an accent thing. But I can't emulate how Americans say half and calf, as in like the back of your leg or a baby cow. I can't say calf without sounding like I'm doing a really, really, really bad John Wayne impression out of nowhere. Calf, half. Like half and half. I can't say half and half in the American way because it sounds insane. I can't carry those 9 letters.
No half and half for you.
Half and half. I sound like I'm making fun of you.
You truly do.
Yeah. Like, ooh, look at me. I'm an American. I drink half and half. Like, I can't do it normally. And I'm amazed by how the vocal structure is in the American throat to pronounce it in such a way. Half and half. I still get looks in when we go out to eat, and I'll have a coffee and I'll go half and half, please. And there's just that second where they go, oh, you say it differently. You know? Is there any more?
Yes, let's see. We're going back to Vic. He saw some of the wrestling figures on the wall. Which wrestling action figure is your favorite, and how many do you actually have?
I don't actually have that many. This is a recent collection I've started just by dipping into Walmart every so often. I have the Bray Wyatt Elite figure, which I bought because I know they're not going to make any more of them. So it's a worthwhile, you know, investment. Similar with Braun Strowman here. I have the Viscera Elite thing because I had the hardcore title with it, and I was like, that's really cool. I have AJ Styles, and then I have a Rey Mysterio from the Masters of the Universe and WWE crossover range that they did X amount of time ago. I've got some other memorabilia I can just quickly show you. I have a lot of show posters for shows I've done and put on. And I have these cool WCW 1992 NES video game drinks coasters.
Oh, those are awesome.
That I got from Etsy from a guy called Coasty Marshmallow. He does some really cool products, by the way, and he lives in Indianapolis too, so I would recommend him. My favorite figure I ever had is one I don't have anymore, or if it is, it's in my parents' attic back in Liverpool. I used to have a ton of the old WCW figures, the one where Sting is like this, and Lex Luger's like this. And I even had like Z-Man, Tom Zenk and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, Z-Man, who recently died, sadly, as well. I think he died earlier in 2021. but yeah, they were my favorites. I used to love my WCW figures. I had a good Flair one as well on the old championship belt, and I used to play with them all the time. I used to play with my wrestling figures all the time. At the time it was my favorite pastime. But then I turned 30 and I had to stop.
Okay, last question from chat from Christopher. Once again, what do you miss most about back home?
I miss good question. It's just the little things, I think. Particular shops and stuff. We have like a series of God, this is stupid. We have a series of these bakeries called Greg's, which just sell like crappy like baked goods, like steak pasties,
Sausage rolls.
Sausage rolls, yes. You know what a pasty is? You know what I mean when I say pasty?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good.
I watch Bake Off.
Oh, right, of course, of course. Oh, what's his name? Paul Hollywood or something?
Yeah.
I was about to say Paul London. I was like, no, another place. Great British Break Off with Paul London. How
Dream
about
match.
that for
Dream match.
The pithy answer I would give you, living out here in the Midwest, is I miss public transport. I've got the bus once in 3 years, and that's really strange for me. Having used the bus daily for 80% of my life now. I miss. I don't know, actually. I think you kind of put me on the spot. I'm asked what's different. I'm asked what's different a lot of the time, which obviously there are myriad answers to that question. In terms of what I miss, I think the geographical closeness of things, the walking distance elements I brought up before. Liverpool in particular has a really nice city centre. Where I used to live in Liverpool, within a mile radius, I kid you not, there was like 80 pubs. And that forms a large part of British social life for a certain type of person. And a lot goes on. Hey, you want to go down the pub? Hey, we've just done this. Want to go to the pub? Hey, let's go to the pub before we go and do this thing. And that's very much a cultural thing. I miss being surrounded by sports I actually know the rules to as well. It's a big one. I know. I tried watching NFL, and I haven't got the time to learn it. Basketball, I just don't particularly find exciting. It's just a personal preference. I still watch Liverpool. They're my team back home. I still go. There's a pub here in downtown Indy called the Chat and Tap, which shows all the English and European soccer games. So it's great. And what was baseball? In fact, baseball I've really grown to love over here. The Indianapolis Indians, I've seen them a lot before, and I really enjoy the. Hey, there's a sport happening, but in a way, it doesn't really matter what happens because we play them 8 times in a row anyway, and we seem to play 300 times a season. So what does this game matter? Just drink a beer and shut the hell up. And here's a guy in a giant monkey costume singing "Take Me to the Ball Game." What a sport! Sport of kings. So, yeah, that's my answer, which again went off on a bit of a tangent. But I'll get back to you. I'm not sure what I missed the most now. Interesting.
Okay, I have one more question, and this is for Val. Val, this is from Vic. He wants to know, why would you ever bring up thin Oreos?
In case people are monsters.
True.
Because
it could happen.
It's like me, they've got a really weird hang up. They're just not brave enough to speak about it.
Right? Maybe they like them thin. I don't know. Couldn't be me.
They see those 2 words on that packet and they go, "Oh God, I'm sweating." What would my priest think about this?
Okay, so I have one more question for you. and it's, are you ready for the worst segment of this interview, the lightning round?
This is the only reason I've come on the show. So yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. It brings a tear to my eye. Christopher, can we roll the lightning round footage? Okay, so bro, this is going to be 10 questions. Random questions. First thing that comes to your mind, as fast as we can get through.
Oh God.
Okay. I think the video is just about over. Okay, here we go. Number 1, what movie title best describes your life?
Apocalypse Now.
What's the best way to relax after a long day?
Just keep going until you pass out.
Name an animal that you're afraid of.
Tiger.
If you could eliminate one food from the earth, what would it be?
Mushrooms.
What popular TV show do you refuse to watch?
Just any of that like Norwegian crime stuff, whatever. You know.
What's something you what's something you hate doing?
Lightning rounds.
What's your what I got tripped up there. What's your favorite smell?
Burnt matches, like the when it's gone out and the smoke's drifting off that.
Yep. What commercial jingle always gets stuck in your head?
It's an obscure one, a very local Liverpool taxi advert for a company called Davy Live, a cabs.
Favorite flavor of muffin?
Chocolate chip, yeah.
Okay, and number 10, the last one. First thing that you would do after winning the lottery.
Disappear.
And that's what I'm going to do. Val, back to you.
Thank you, Chuck, for the lightning round. Lovely answers. Top notch.
Yeah, the animal one threw me off because I was like, well, I said I beat up a rat, so conceivably I'm afraid of every other animal that exists. So.
Well, I mean, I guess like my grandma was like afraid of mice. Like some people are like afraid of spiders. Like
yeah,
snakes.
I mean, if a tiger came into my house, I'd be really, really frightened. So that stands to reason.
There, that's a perfect answer. I would also be terrified of being face to face with a loose tiger. So that would make sense. Yeah. and on that note, this has been the Stack, and this has been Earl Joseph. Follow him on social media. I know you have Twitter. Do you have Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans, MySpace? I don't know. Where can people follow you and keep up with you and the things that you're doing, as well as what you're doing with New Wave Pro?
Yeah, Twitter is the main place to get me for business. I do a lot of it's mainly very professional with the odd really lame observation about stuff. Facebook, I have a standard profile that I just Earl Joseph. You'll find me. Profile picture's me, and then I also have a page, Earl Joseph : which is what a lot of people call me, the Liverpool Lip. Where that's more to do with my announcing and commentary, and then the main Earl Joseph profile is like a summarization of everything. I've literally never used TikTok. I refuse to let, I don't know. I just never used it. It doesn't appeal to me. I keep seeing clips of people on TikTok, on Twitter, and they always say really, really stupid things. And I think I get enough of that on the other social platforms. Why make it another one? OnlyFans, no. Not until I get back to that medium anyway. And Instagram, no, I don't have a professional.
So Twitter is at Liverpool
at the Liverpool Lip. Yes, I believe I just looked at Twitter before the lightning round, and I see the Bald Monkeys team have been quoting me, which is awful. I can beat up a rat that is now committed to digital eternity. So there you go. But no, that is my Twitter at the Liverpool Lip. I also, I would actually like to shout out my SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/chemical_Billy. I make my own original music on there, which is good. I'm really ramping it up. I've got a new record out sometime, hopefully December, maybe January at this point.
Well, we didn't even touch on that.
I like to. It's the enigmatic part of me, the music.
I was like, wait a minute, you have a whole. That's going to be a whole other conversation for another day, good sir.
Well, yes, I would love to come back on the show at some point. Absolutely. I've had a really good time. So thank you to you, Val, and the rest of the team for giving me this platform. And just before we do wrap it up, I just want to say New Wave Pro November Rain, 27th of November, Thanksgiving weekend, Terre Haute National Guard Armory. It's got fucking, Cole Radrick, Sage Phillips, Don't Die Miles. We've got Alex Zane, Aaron Williams, Eric Dillinger. Ton of great people. It's going to be awesome, and it's only $10, so be there.
If you are in a probably 3-hour radius of Terre Haute, go to that show, represent. Because unfortunately, I probably won't be able to be there, but I will definitely check it out on IWTV when it gets posted after the fact, like I do most of the New Wave Pro shows. So
definitely, no, it's going to be awesome. Whether you watch it on TV or live, it's going to be really, really special.
Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And thank you, everybody in the chat. I know Vic was in there. I saw my mom in there. My mom lurks. I think my sister was in there too. Just my family.
James there.
Don't Die Miles and Jay, and it looks like Reed was in there. Vic, as always, Fudge. Thank you guys.
Reed Cooper from New York.
Yes.
Yes, he's the other guy who comments on my shirt changes. I didn't want to mention him by name in case whatever, but no, he is he's another one.
I thought it was probably Reed when you mentioned it, because I remembered I thought it was probably Reed, but I wasn't quite sure either. But thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. Make sure to stop by next week, same stack time, same stack place, as I talk with Landon Hale. So that'll be a fun one. And once again, thank you so much, Earl, for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you, and see you soon, everybody. Thank you.